and it's a lot of fun to be a part of it. We're going to keep playing hard. Now we're going to get some rest.
He is Jalen Rose. I am David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do?
We get it, people! What they want.
We have two huge games to get you ready for tonight. We have the Bucks evening the series against the Nets, but we start with the Phoenix Suns completing a sweep of the Denver Nuggets. The MVP is out of the playoffs because the point guard made his presence felt. Jalen, what do you think of the Suns?
Everybody's got a little light under the sun, under the sun, under the sun. 8-0 in the bubble. Booker was terrific. Monty Williams, talent development with Bridges, with Ayton. You add CP3. You add Crowder. Now all of a sudden, casuals start watching the Phoenix Suns play and they say, CP3 is underrated. Where y'all been? Didn't you just hear Jacoby call him the point god? Don't you see him on a signature commercial more than any NBA player doing and selling insurance as Cliff Paul with his kids for the last decade? Didn't you watch him with the Oklahoma City Thunder? And you know the beauty of his game, Jacoby?
What?
The lost art of the mid-range.
Yep.
Actually playing with intellect, high assists, low turnover, getting to your spot like it's a drill. Right elbow, bang, zigzag, single pick off the top, bang, staggered screen off the top, right elbow, bang. And I notice a common denominator. The MVP is the second screener. Jokic, the stretch mark 5, who became the MVP, our king. He was involved in the action. He was featured in the action. You know what he did? He got frustrated. He got frustrated watching Chris Paul score 37 points without making a three, without attempting a three, a point guard doing that. And for those looking at that play, let me tell you guys something. For anybody that's ever been in a fight, for anybody that's ever played basketball, that's the equivalent of throwing a punch with the Joker did. We can play all the shenanigan games. Now, I am old school. Today's rules to me are soft. But let me tell you a couple of things that those rules say in the bylaws. That was not a basketball play. That was not a necessary play. It was unsportsmanlike. It was above the shoulders.
Yep.
He could have broke the man's nose, okay? It was unnecessary because he was frustrated because they were already down 3-0 and they were about to get swept. You must keep your composure. You can't quit on your squad. You got to be out there on the floor when y'all lose to give those daps on the court, like the MVP. He will learn from that, and he won't put himself in that position. That was the only time he's ever been in that position. But for Chris Paul and for Devin Booker, it was terrific leadership and guard play. The Phoenix Suns. Wallace, where's my broom? See, I'm on the road. I was more worried about my pick. I was more worried about my frames. Where's my broom? In all honesty, great season for the Nuggets. You're not getting far without Jamal Murray in the Western Conference playoffs.
They definitely needed Murray. About that Jokic play, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And you could tell he was frustrated from not getting some calls. You could tell he was angry. It wasn't really a basketball play, as you mentioned. And by the laws, if you hit someone in the face, they always come down on you. And with Jokic or without Jokic, they were not winning that game. They were not winning this series. They really did miss Jamal Murray and the Monte Morrises and the Rivers and all those contributions they got in their previous series against the Blazers. They just did not get against the Phoenix Suns. Now, you mentioned Chris Paul, and he deserves to be celebrated, but we also need to celebrate Devin Booker. Book had himself a great series. It just seems like he's really flourishing off the ball. And you have him as one of your top 5 under 25. What made you do this list, and where do you have Booker on it?
Here's the beauty of Booker on being on any list. This is his 8th season, dog. He's on an under 25 list, is already have a 70-point game, is in the conference finals as a sweep, and he's still under 25 years of age. Luka Doncic, he just solidified himself to me as just all worldly. Jason Tatum just elevated himself as being one of the best clutch performers in the league, has been with the Celtics in 3 conference finals, and Donovan Mitchell has just been fantastic for the Utah Jazz. Last year's playoffs, this year's playoffs. Devin Booker's right there. That last spot, Jacoby, that last spot, I like to play king of the court, and Trae Young has it for right now, but Ja Morant is standing right behind him. You see that Hawk emblem right behind him? That's Ja Morant. I gave the spot to Trae Young just because his team got to the second rounds and Ja Morant's didn't, even though I was a guy that was picking them to actually win in the play-in and make the NBA playoffs.
Well, Jalen, that series was a sweep. It looked like the Nets were headed toward a sweep when they were up 2-0, but the Bucks have come back. They evened the series using some defense from PJ Tucker and some good play from Giannis. Jalen, how have the Bucks evened up this series?
This time of the year, the catalysts are your superstars, and Giannis continued to attack the paint without settling. It's easier to do it when your team is getting stops and or rebounds, so he get plays like this in transition, broken floor situations where they don't get a chance to truly form a wall, and that's why he had a career high in the paint with points. So it starts with Giannis. But the second thing I want to say, I want to go to PJ Tucker.
Yep.
See, in the first game, he had 0 points, but his plus minus was 11. Plus 11. He played fantastic. Drew Holiday only had 9 points in the previous game. He actually was fantastic. And you know how they were fantastic? Defensively. I have never seen anybody guard Kevin Durant this well. I know they weren't necessarily, they were planning for Harden to be out, weren't planning for Kyrie to be out, so their offense got a little stagnant and tried to force it to KD. But he was picking them up 94 feet sometime. He was forcing them to the left side sometime. He was getting underneath them. I saw him contesting shots. I saw him block. When the last time you seen somebody block one of Kevin Durant's shots? I know they called the foul, but it wasn't a foul. It wasn't a foul. You can do that when you're familiar with a guy, you're really up on him, and you're taking away his airspace, and then right there when you do it, KD tries to get the contact, and you frustrate an all-time great player. So PJ Tucker, who would have thought that he'd go into a playoff game and make more three-pointers than Kevin Durant? He was outstanding.
He played great defense. However, the story of this game is the Kyrie Irving injury. As you mentioned, they knew they were going to be without James Harden, who is progressing, according to Steve Nash. But now we have Kyrie Irving out, and they put everything on KD. Jalen, couple things. Number one, can the Nets win Game 5 without Harden or Kyrie Irving? And do you think there will be some discipline from Giannis because of him not allowing Irving to land?
Rest in peace to the king, Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba. And when I did that to him in the 2000 finals, I wasn't asked about it after the game. Nobody realized that I intentionally did that. I wasn't proud of it. I didn't think it was cute. I didn't think it was cool. So that's why the basketball gods paid me back by allowing me to be out there when Kobe Bryant scored 81 points. So after that happened, I came on this show and I told the world about it. I told the world about it. And let me tell you something right now. I can't just look at the lens of when I grew up playing and when I played, when I analyzed whether the Joker should have got a flagrant 2 or not. Because when I played, I know that wouldn't have been a flagrant 2. But the rules are different. The same for this play with Giannis. And I guarantee you, in my Charles Barkley voice, shout to the OG, this offseason, the NBA is going to make sure that they outlaw this play not only for the jump shooter in particular the three-point shooter, the Kawhi Leonard, Zaza Pachulia play also, they're going to make sure that they acknowledge that this should be for players inside of the paint, inside of the three-point line also. Now, I don't believe Giannis' intention was to wake up yesterday and hurt Kyrie Irving. But what I do think, as a 7-footer, when you run in there to grab the board, Jacoby, there's a level of real estate that you occupy. And you don't necessarily have to go underneath Kyrie Irving to get the rebound. He's right in front of the rim. As a matter of fact, it's a layup, and he made the shot. Again, Giannis is not a dirty player. But this is, like I said with the Joker, this was an avoidable incident. And so, therefore, retroactively, they don't go back and give him a flagrant. Watch in the offseason, this becomes a point of emphasis. 3, 2, 1. Is it at the bottom of the ticker yet? Did Woj tweet it yet?
It will be.
I guarantee you, they're going to make it a point of emphasis.
Jalen, we have another update on Aaron Rodgers. This time it is Packers CEO Mark Murphy who says that Aaron Rodgers is a complicated fella. Jalen, why would he do this, and what does he mean?
This is irrelevant for him to do if your goal is to have Aaron Rodgers return to your team. And then I start thinking about something. Aaron Rodgers is complicated. So very complicated. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and a heartbreaker to my Detroit Lions. Look at this, Jacoby. I think this was Matthew Stafford when he left the team, except he had to play 7 more years after that. I think that was Megatron's final game. He just dropped to his knees on that play. So if you want to Hail Mary and have Aaron Rodgers return, Packers fans, fix this. The guaranteed money. He should not be on this list. Jimmy G, he wanted his
games tonight in the NBA playoffs, and we start with the Western Conference matchup between the Utah Jazz and the Clippers, vying to take on the Suns in the Western Conference Finals. Donovan Mitchell has been the story of this series. However, he hobbled himself, hurt his ankle in the last one. How important is it that he performs for the Jazz?
It's extremely important. You don't advance without Donovan Mitchell. Hopefully, they get Mike Conley back, because that now limits D. Mitch's usage. I like when he has the ball in his hands primarily, but he still also is going to need that other person besides Ingles and besides Clarkson to initiate offense, so he could be the recipient of somebody creating for him. And so I think that usage also is what wears him down sometimes, because at 6'2", he performs like he's 6'8", and he's extremely fearless. He's a terrific three-point shooter, and he's clutch. And on the other side for the Clippers, they got Kawhi Leonard and PG in particular to show up when they needed them to.
Yep.
Because Paul George, and I was asked this question by Jay Will on Countdown, is he a superstar? It's not a diss for a player like him to be a great player, an all-NBA performer, but not, quote-unquote, considered a superstar. As a matter of fact, if you're counting, they're probably, quote-unquote, maybe 10, we'll do a list one day, superstars, but he has the ability to perform like one. And when you call yourself playoff P, now people are looking. When you team up with Kawhi Leonard, people are looking. When you're in the MVP race in OKC and they give up 4 first-round picks to get you, people are looking. And so this was a big game, and it was great to see him mix his game up. That's what I want to see more of. He's an improved ball handler and creator for others, but I want to see him playing more lockdown D and finishing at the hoop. Kawhi, don't worry about Kawhi. Don't worry about Kawhi. We already know when he get thick, we already know what to expect from Kawhi.
Yep. Moving on to the other matchup, this one in the Eastern Conference in Atlanta between the 76ers and the Hawks. Jalen Rose, I heard you're going to be at this one. I heard you're going to be in the building for this one.
Yes. Happy birthday, Gracie Rose, who turns 15 today. I'll be at the game with the Notorious One, and we're going to see if they can slow down Joel Embiid, who's been dominant, Ben Simmons, who's been attacking, and their perimeter defensive ferocity of Simmons and Thibault, and the offensive productivity of Harris playing defense against Trae Young. They've smothered the fella. He and Bogdanovich, they're getting blitzed. These guys are using their length. They're contested. They're trapping. Obviously, they're going to miss Danny Green's minutes, but not necessarily in this series. But for the Hawks, here's what happens. And our OG director, Tommy, taught this. Basketball isn't just a game. It's a religion. And I've been ordained. I'm a deacon. And the further that you advance in the playoffs, the more your weaknesses are going to show. You can't necessarily have injuries like Jamal Murray. And you know what else? This is where you miss the potential of a guy like Cam Reddish. This is where you miss DeAndre Hunter, because those 6'7", 6'8" guys can pile up on Bogdanovich and Trae Young because they don't have an athletic wing that they need to guard. And so Gallinari's a little bit older, and he's not going to give you that, that lateral movement. So now all three of those guys can load up on those two guys, and look at the difference between game 1 versus game 2 or 3.
Jalen, we adopted the Cardinals because we love Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. However, Kyler Murray grew up in Texas, and he was asked why he wasn't a Cowboys fan. And here is what Kyler Murray had to say, and I quote, "They were always bleep." Jalen, what do you think about Kyler Murray not rooting for the hometown team because they were not up to snuff in his mind?
You know Kyler Murray's our guy, and we got to get him back on the show. And I distinctly got to ask him, I want to show him the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary play against my Lions and show him that didn't stop me rooting for my team. So, did you not root for your team because they were what you said they were? Or are you a David Jacoby? Were you one of those guys that was die easy?
Yeah.
I need to find this out.
There's more of us out there than you think. There are more die easy fans out there than you think, and Kyler Murray might just be one of them. But right now, he's a Cardinals fan, and so are we. Jalen Rose, Yankees fans have not had too much to cheer about so far this season, and Aaron Boone is not happy. How long will he be the manager in the Bronx? Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, Aaron Boone is the manager of the Yankees, and they are not winning, and he is not happy.
Do you sense there's a fatigue in the dugout, maybe a complacency as these losses pile up where guys are just almost getting used to losing here?
No.
Why not?
I know them too well, and I don't think there's any getting used to freaking losing. Hell no. Hell out of here with that.
Unhappy Aaron Boone. Jalen Rose, will he continue to be the Yankees manager throughout this season?
I believe he lasts throughout this season, but watching the Yankees struggle, I can't front. They came to Detroit, and we got out the Wally's brooms on them real quick, too. We got some of that, too. I just want to wonder, I need to wonder how Reg DeLedge and his pops are doing right now. Die-hard Yankee fans. I know the struggle's real.
Well, it's been a tough weekend for Yankees fans, but it was a great weekend for the students and the scholars of the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. What happened this weekend?
I'm so very fortunate that in our completing our 10th school year, JRLA had a 7th graduation. We now currently serve 1,000 young people currently in high school and secondary education. I'm extremely proud of our 2021 graduates and our leader, our principal, Lewis, our founding team, all of our donors.